destroy the UAVs.
It's impossible. I'm not flying in there to help out some assholes I don't know shit about. As they say in my house, there's a thin line between bravery and stupidity. Moving in thunderclouds!
Spare 15, target destroyed.
Enemy fighters down by 30%.
I wasn't quite done with this franchise after I did that Strange Reel dossier. In fact, I was actually considering doing this video first, but my interest in the world got ahead, and so I did the dossier instead. So, sort of consider that video a bit of a lore introduction to this game. You best buckle up, cause we're flying high and defying the concept of G-forces to fight over a space elevator and maybe blow up the internet along the way. This is Ace Combat 7.
Wait, what the hell is that?
Alert! We've detected an IRBM launch. Confirmed signature on our radar. Launch site is this dam.
Not from the silos?
They certainly hit it well. We still have a chance. Shoot it down before it reaches critical altitude.
From the outside, you'd think Ace Combat was some kind of simulation game. Very detailed, realistic graphics, and some very real planes to fly. But then you see that you can attach railguns to these planes, or you hear the music get extremely dramatic at certain points, and you realize that's not entirely the case. Yeah, the game looks beautiful and uses the realism of its setting to draw people in before revealing the entire thing is essentially one massive anime, with your rival being this old man who's somehow still perfectly fit to fly fighter jets, let alone pull off some of the maneuvers that should certainly be twisting up his insides. And honestly, it's awesome. It gets really stupid, but it's the fun kind of stupid, where you want to see how ridiculous the game is going to take things, both in the gameplay as well as the story, which I will get to right now.
Seems like you've got some people looking out for you. Still, I think it's because of how you've conducted yourselves. I believe you'll be an asset to us. Okay, it's time for your briefing. For a long time, our counteroffensive has been overpowered by the Erusian drone's auto-intercept system. If a craft enters their airspace and doesn't respond to their IFF, drones automatically take off and move to intercept their target. However, we've discovered that the intercept system has a blind spot. We've acquired this valuable information by sending our other squadrons on dangerous missions to scout the whole area and initiate combat. Of all the pilots assigned to us, only 2 managed to survive the mission.
So, if you watched the previous Strange Reel video I made, then you'll have some context for what I'm about to tell you. If not, well, you should probably go watch my previous video. Anyway, Ace Combat 7 is set near the current end of the Ace Combat timeline as far as numbered mainline games go. The game is set in the Strange Reel version of 2019 during what is called the Lighthouse War. The Lighthouse War was the result of the Erusian royalty, especially the Erusian princess, being convinced that the space elevator project, which was proposed by Osea as a sign of international cooperation, was actually a ruse to increase Osean military presence and political influence on the home continent of Usea, where Erusia is located. Because of this, Erusia declares war and seizes the space elevator, securing it and somehow the entire continent using 2 enormous flying fortresses that control swarms of drones called Arsenal Birds. You play as Trigger, a completely mute pilot who is also a prodigy at aerial combat. You are dispatched by the Osean military as part of Mage Squadron to assist in the war effort until you're framed for the assassination of the former Osean president. And for some bizarre reason, your punishment for assassinating a president is using a fighter jet to make you a member of Spare Squadron, a squadron of convicts who are given suicide missions to atone for their crimes, completely ignoring the fact that these convicts could, at any moment, decide to just turn and start killing random people with these fully equipped fighter jets that they were given, but oh well. You manage to prove yourself in numerous suicide missions and are eventually proven innocent and made leader of Strider Squadrons, who, under your command, engage in the most critical moments of the war and eventually win the war for Osea. This story is incredibly over the top and silly, and I kinda love it. It stops caring for logic very early on and starts focusing on what's cool and dramatic, like your rival being an ace pilot who's now an old man still extremely capable at air combat. He's so skilled, in fact, that the AI drones I mentioned earlier were developed using the flight and combat skills recorded by the old man's performance in the field because he's just that good. Or the fact that in an attempt to disrupt Osean communications, Erusea hacks and then blows up most, if not all, of the satellites orbiting the planet, thus destroying the internet and allowing for people across the continent of Usea, including those prisoners from Spare, to rise up in revolt amidst the chaos. If you're here for a grounded and or realistic Air Force themed story, sorry, this definitely ain't the one for you. This is raw drama and action. Speaking of the action, let's move on to the meat of this game.
So that's Stonehenge, huh? It's bigger than I imagined. Uglier, too.
Look at that mess of cables. They're using generator trucks to run it. Are we sure that thing's even gonna fire? Seriously, I mean, how old is it?
If it doesn't, then our luck is run dry. I'd get praying if I were you.
Well, if it works, it'll bring down even an arsenal bird. Big if. And it'd have to hit.
The gameplay is pretty much what you'd expect from a game called Ace Combat, which also has a jet soaring across the cover art. While it might seem a little intimidating to those unfamiliar with the genre, it is certainly not a simulator game. This is an arcadey dogfighting game to the core. All the footage you're seeing here is from the campaign, so keep that in mind. This isn't the multiplayer. The gameplay is pretty standard. You fly up, down, left, right, can do fancy rolls if that's your thing, or even make yourself turn faster by holding down both the accelerate and decelerate buttons at the same time if you're trying to catch someone or dodge a missile. The game also has some RPG style additions though, through the aircraft tree. You spend the currency you earn in missions on this tree to unlock new jets, missiles for those jets, and various upgrades that change the stats of your jet to specialize for certain missions. Need to deal with land troops? Use something like the A-10 Thunderbolt and go burr on your enemies. Have to take out a fleet of ships? Get a bomber with guided air-to-sea missiles and sink them. Or are you just dogfighting other jets? Well, then get yourself a good old-fashioned fighter with some quick maneuver missiles in case the enemy actually knows how to dodge. What I've just described to you is also pretty much how all of the missions go. You're given a starting objective, which can then change to new objectives as the mission story progresses, and you have to be prepared for how the battlefield might change. Like a thunderstorm rolling in and zapping your jet, causing you to lose control and crash into another rock formation for the 100th time. Yeah, I don't like that mission, but I do like the game as a whole. Honestly, my favorite missions are the ones where you just have to reach a specified score before time is up, because that means I can just run wild and see how much damage I can do before I progress. And thankfully, those missions are plentiful here, alongside the occasional boss fight to test your skill, or sometimes your patience up to that point. All in all, solid arcade gameplay, can't wait for the next game.
Tower destroyed. We've done our part. Stonehenge, shoot!
Understood. Begin final countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Adjusting angle.
3, 2, 1. Fire! Hit, damn it!
Is it really over now?
Reporting mission success. Lehman, this victory belongs to you. That was a good lesson on the importance of manual control.
Today's MVPs are the LRSSG.
I'll say, especially those two lead birds. They're the Osean big shots. We can win if we follow them. The Osean big shots?
You mean the Osean Big Shot?
And those are my thoughts on Ace Combat 7. I think regardless of whether or not you're interested in this sort of overarching lore of the series, or you just want another game where you can fly around in a fighter jet and have some aerial fights, you're gonna have a good time. Though I assume if you're familiar with this genre, you already know about this franchise, but for all the new people here, go ahead and try it out. I'd say it's definitely worth it. This has been TheRatMan, and I will see you all later. And lastly, a special thank you shout out to my Patreon, with $5 a month pledge is Punch McLarge Huge. Thank you for the $5.